TG Geeks, episode 205, January 21st, 2019. Innovation, excitement, and opera. Hello and welcome to another webcast from tggeeks.com, where Ben and Keith, the two gay geeks, talk about all aspects of geekdom and nerdery.
You're already laughing? I haven't said anything yet.
Well, I haven't messed anything up yet.
Not yet.
I was just thinking about the last one we recorded, since we're doing two in a row here. Sci-fi, comics, film, horror genre, you name it, we talk about it. If it's in the geekosphere, we're going to talk about it. I'm Keith Lane, and we're coming to you from TG Squared Studios in lovely Phoenix, Arizona.
And I'm Ben Raggington, always still phlegmy, and sitting next to the person who always loves to tickle himself, Keith Lane, here in lovely Phoenix, Arizona.
And we're going to just get right into this.
Prepare for hyperdrive.
Meanwhile, in the Hall of Episodes, the two gay geeks are discussing this.
We have Mr. Joe Spector. That's Just Joe Spector.
This is the Just Joe Show.
Yeah, from Arizona Opera. And we've got our birthday shout-outs, as always, our featured podcast of the week. And we have a little bit of feedback, even though we've got a really long interview with Joe.
Oh, but it's a goodie.
It is fabulous. And we're going to talk maybe just briefly about some more Arizona Opera stuff and weekly recap that we won't have, probably because we haven't published anything yet.
Yeah,
because we're recording this ahead of time. Because we're going to be out of town
celebrating
next
your
weekend.
birthday.
Yeah. And then we got our follow-up items. So we're going to just get right to it. And we welcome back to our show Mr. Joe Spector, CEO, or is it President and General Director of Arizona Opera.
Just keep going.
God,
whatever else you can throw in there.
Yeah, CEO, managing...
President and General Director.
Managing partner, or as we were referring to you just a moment ago, Just Joe.
Just Joe.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I tried Thanos for a week or two, and it just didn't work. So,
that's a little too scary. People are afraid you're going to snap your fingers and everybody's going to disappear in a puff of dust.
Yeah. All right. Well,
fortunately, I'm not a good snapper, so it never happened.
I can't snap my fingers either.
Only a quarter of the people vanish in a puff of dust.
They just kind of felt this wave of energy at them.
I do like a slow clap, and people feel mildly uncomfortable for a few minutes, and then it's over.
Oh my gosh. Okay. And we have already derailed this episode. Well, and we're here to talk about Arizona Opera, and we're right in the middle of the season. So we've just concluded the fall portion, and the fall portion series was absolutely incredible. And so tell us about what happened in the fall portion of the season with the Red Series and all of that, how it was received, and then we'll talk about what we have going forward.
Fantastic, yeah. So this was the first year of our McDougall Red Series, and in fact, the whole new season model for Arizona Opera being rolled out. And just to recap for folks that are not familiar with the organization or what we've been up to for the last year, we sort of took a hard look at what we were doing, how we were doing it, and really having at the core of our questioning, how can we be the most exciting company for the state of Arizona? How can we serve this community as fully as possible with this really magnificent art form? And Arizona Opera has always been an excellent company, but we haven't always been as responsive as we could be to sort of certain realities, both in terms of sort of seasonality of attendance for cultural arts, but also just thinking more in a more adventuresome way. Oh, God bless you. Thinking more in a more adventuresome way about the art form itself, which has been really experiencing an incredible renaissance in terms of creation of new work. Mm-hmm. And we put all of that thinking together, looked at who we were as an organization and across the field, of opera nationally, and came up with this new format to our season where we present sort of these more risk-taking, newer, edgier works in our fall season as part of the new McDougall Red series in the Herberger Theater Center and the Temple of Music and Art in Phoenix and Tucson, respectively. And then present, still this bigger format main stage series, which has, a combination of, big classic beloved operas and also sort of a larger format modern masterwork each year that we feel will appeal to a big cross section of our community. And the first year of the McDougall Red series with Maria de Buenos Aires, the tango opera by Astor Piazzolla, and Charlie Parker's Yardbird about the great jazz saxophonist by Bridget Wimberly, librettist, and Daniel Sneeder, the composer, was just such an exciting way to get started to tell two very different kinds of stories in two musical languages that were at the same time very operatic, but also had such an intense flavoring of something that's in a different vein. It was great to see full houses at those shows. We had, I think, 90% or 90% plus houses at all those performances. And what was really wonderful to see is that 20% of our audience for those performances were new to Arizona Opera.
Oh, far out.
And really, when we're thinking about this idea of opera as an organization that's here to serve and to serve a community as fully as possible, the idea that we are able to bring new people to the art form is pretty key. And it was great to see a lot of new faces. People that loved the Red Series most were those that were brand new to the art form and those that were super, super experienced. So you have this interesting combination of the opera omnivore who has seen Carmen and Traviata and Bohème so many times that they're really feeling like they need an infusion of something new. And then the people who consider themselves not knowledgeable about opera, seeming to connect with that program the most. So there's still a lot for us to learn. We've got a really killer lineup for the second outing of the McDougall Red Series in our just announced 2019-20 series season, and we're off to the races.
We'll talk about that in a bit.
Fall.
Yeah, we'll discuss the next year.
Yeah,
we are excited about next season.
Yeah, I was very moved and impressed with Maria de Buenos Aires.
Especially Maria de Buenos Aires. That was so powerful.
It was so powerful. I mean, we saw it 2 nights. We saw it Friday and Saturday night, and I don't think there were not that many empty seats at all at those two performances. Well, at least on the floor where we were. So right. I was impressed.
No, we had a great turnout. Great. And I think what we're trying to do is just looking for these stories and these pieces that will have reach that sort of helps us get beyond what tends to be the water's edge for opera audiences.
Right.
Who identifies themselves as someone that would come to an opera. You do a tango opera like Maria, which has such a powerful story told so powerfully. By John De Los Santos, who directed the show, and you really make possible an expansion for audience for the art form.
Well, that brings up a really good question. This is something that's been kind of like on the back of my mind ever since the Red Series was first announced, and that is, where are you finding these works? I mean, it's not like there's a big database, or maybe there is, and I just don't know about it, where, seldom performed small operas are listed. I mean, where are you finding these things?
He's in the business.
Actually,
Well, that I understand, but still, there's got to be some kind of resource or some kind of word of mouth that allows you to learn about these kinds of things.
well, what I would say to that is that in a lot of the creation of new works that's happening today, and Yardbird falls squarely into this. So that piece premiered in 2015. Maria has been around for 50 years, so that was that one's been sort of a known. It's almost a modern classic. It's been around so long, and it's been so successful in its performances, even around the U.S. A lot of composers today are composing for this somewhat smaller configuration, somewhat smaller orchestra, somewhat smaller chorus, often smaller cast. These more sort of theatrically driven shows, and I think that there are certain stories that just lend themselves to that type of storytelling, and there are a lot of opera companies at the same time that are embarking, or a number of opera companies that are embarking on this sort of more adventurous path and creating, a second theater opportunity, a second stage opportunity, where they can mix up their repertoire between these bigger format works like La Traviata, which we're opening at the end of this month, and these smaller scale works that sometimes are older works, but most often are these newer pieces. So there's a ton of creation happening there, and it's just a ton of energy that's swirling in the industry right now. Composers know that opera companies are trying to create seasons that are responsive to their sort of seasonal attendance realities, and it just creates this fantastic opportunity for injecting all this energy into our seasons with pieces like Maria, like Yardbird, and in fact, there's a pretty rich library at this point of work that sort of fits into this kind of space. So we're not going to run out of options anytime soon. I mean, for us, the biggest challenge is winnowing it down.
Right.
What is going to work? What's going to work just right for Arizona? Because we're not trying to do this in a vacuum. We're really programming. We're trying to program as thoughtfully as we can and do work that's going to be meaningful to the people that would wish to take part in this in the art form.
Yeah.
Now it's a time of learning for us. I think there are going to be pieces that connect well and pieces that connect less well. But what we're trying to cultivate in not just our regular opera audience, but in the broader community, is sort of a sense of adventure and curiosity, to sort of go on a journey with us, because it's when you take these kinds of chances where you'll find something that just energizes and creates meaning and value for people that they never could have imagined. But it takes that experimentation to get there.
Yeah. So it sounds like Maisie, is that your dog's name, wants to be petted or let in to the room?
Oh, you can hear Maisie. Sorry about that.
That's all right. It's we have animals.
We have cats. I mean, it's not uncommon for us to be recording an episode and all of a sudden you hear this meowing in the background.
Or one of them decides to sit in my lap.
Or hack up a fur ball.
We're always in a constant balance between Maisie barking at the neighbor's dog outside and Maisie chasing the cats inside. So,
oh dear.
So
it's rarely quiet.
We'll give it a shot. We're going to mix it up. Okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
That's okay. It is great that you guys have changed. I won't say the art form, but you've changed what Arizona Opera is doing in Arizona. I think it speaks to where we need to go forward. We got to bring more people in, because we can't just have old people like us coming to the opera. We're gonna.
It's a
You guys
stagnant
are
form.
kids. You guys are kids.
Well, in the grand scheme of things, yes.
In the grand scheme, in the grand opera scheme. Of things.
Exactly. But you've always got to be reaching out and finding something. Yes, we have to do the old classics, and yes, I will see Carmen again. But
If you must.
if I must. But it's great that you're reaching out and trying something different and seeing what works and what doesn't work and learning from that. So
Yeah, and we definitely have audience development as as something we're focused on. Of course, we have to be focused on it, but on this other level, it's just about any art form that wants to live and breathe must always be thinking creatively and thinking about reinvention, and that's in the time there was a time when Tosca was new and challenging, and people
Right.
were ambivalent about the work. We just have to make room for new work in art, no matter what the genre. So I was raised on classic opera. I went. All of my training was really focused primarily on, as a singer, it's focused primarily on traditional works. Most of the roles that I sang were traditional works, and I do love that place and those pieces, and I always have room in my heart and on our calendar for those works. It's just about finding the balance that is the most sort of conducive, exciting, that creates the most enticing recipe over the course of an entire season.
Right.
And I think we're making progress on that. And we've got some really exciting irons in the fire for out years. And we're glad the community is coming with us and helping us to do this exploration. And I'm excited for what the future holds.
Yeah. So you always have a closeness in your heart for Joe Papageno, huh?
Papageno.
Hulkageno. Didn't I tell you about that?
Hulkageno?
Okay.
We got to hear this one. I think I may have heard it, but
No, I have not heard this yet.
Hulkageno. So I only performed Papageno as an entire role once, and I found out pretty close to the time that rehearsals were going to start that Papageno was going to be shirtless for the show.
Oh dear.
And I was a much younger guy then, and I was reasonably fit, but I'm like, oh my gosh, this is my first time doing. It's not like there was a shirtless scene and we can come up with some classy lighting. It's like I was going to be shirtless for the entire show.
Oh dear.
So I thought, I need to address this. How would anyway a professional artist would. I want to make sure that I look good on stage. So
And how much
just
prep time did you have?
Well, I had at least enough time to get to the gym and lift way too much weight, and I ended up and then I had this body pain on top of it.
Oh dear.
And so between just probably lifting way too much and the body pain, it was this very sort of exaggerated physique for a guy who's supposed to look like a pretty innocuous bird catcher. Is like a Papageno smash.
What you gonna do when the bird catcher catches you?
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Oh my. Sorry, you just broke me.
It's all right.
That's great.
Keeping it real, guys.
Yeah.
Keeping it real.
So tell us about, there's some really exciting stuff coming up in the second half of the season, starting here just the end of this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're opening La Traviata on the 25th here in Phoenix, and then on February 2nd in Tucson. It's just one of the most magnificent works in the rep, and it does get done frequently, but there's a reason. It's sort of wall to wall packed with some of the most beautiful tunes. So it's incredibly tune filled opera, and we have a beautiful traditional production, and just some exquisite singers involved. And it's the kind of piece that's always going to be such an important anchor for us artistically.
Right.
We have
love Traviata.
It's a beautiful. I think it's probably one of Verdi's most beautiful, from a musical standpoint. For me personally, it's most beautiful opera.
It's exquisite. It's exquisite. We have a great cast with Vanessa Vasquez and Sarah Gartland splitting the title role of Violetta, and Daniel Montenegro and David Blaylock sharing the role of Alfredo. Dan Sutton, who's sung many times at Metropolitan Opera and Lyric Opera Chicago and so forth, as Alfredo's father, Germont. It's going to be beautiful singing. It's a beautiful looking show, and it's always heartbreaking, but it's because the music and the text go together so incredibly powerfully that it all works. Also worth mentioning that Vanessa Vasquez, who is one of our two Violettas, was actually raised in Arizona.
Oh, cool!
And is a winner of the Metropolitan Opera National Competition. Was a finalist in Placido Domingo's international competition Operalia just this past summer. Certainly a rising star in the field, but sort of hometown girl done good. So we're really excited to have Vanessa making her company debut with us with this production.
That's fabulous. So I love Traviata, and every chance I get to see that one's one of my favorites.
Well, there's nothing more glorious about seeing Violetta die at the top of her lungs of tuberculosis.
Yes.
Exactly. Well,
oh no! Spoiler!
Oh shoot! I'm sorry. This is an opera. They usually have tragic endings.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that we're looking forward to that. That's followed by the company premiere of Silent Night by Kevin Putz and Mark Campbell in our Marlew Allen and Scott Stallig Modern Masterwork series. This piece is, obviously another one of these instant modern classics. It premiered in 2011 in Minnesota and won the Pulitzer Prize shortly thereafter for music. And it's about for your listeners that don't know, this piece is based on the French film Joyeux Noël, about the true story of a truce that happened in 1914 across enemy lines in World War I. Brief and spontaneous for the most part. Enemy combatants from the French side and German side, Scots, gave each other presents and sang together and had a night of fellowship to take a break from the war. And I just, it's such a powerful story that's always going to be relevant, even if we're not in Christmas and even if we're not in a large scale war like that. But for me, it's all about this idea that we can put our differences aside and find shared humanity. And
absolutely,
it's told so effectively, and it's timely right now.
Yeah.
I really feel like we need to be telling stories like this.
Absolutely.
One of the luxuries of my job is that I'm always talking to people who have different backgrounds, different political and social viewpoints, and they all come together under the umbrella of art.
Yes.
And if they don't engage in a conversation on those things that divide them, they get along just fine. And I think this opera sort of illuminates that, and I hope it's an opportunity for our community to sort of celebrate differences among each other that we usually, don't have a challenge vilifying,
right?
And really be something special for us.
Yeah,
and then we close the season with. I'm really excited. The company has wanted to do the show even before I arrived, but I'm glad we're able to bring that to life. Joey Mekovic will be back on the the podium. He conducted Riders of the Purple Sage, which is prescient. And among the cast, just mentioned, since you guys know him, we have Joe Latanzi coming back.
Oh, cool.
Joseph Latanzi coming back as Lieutenant Audebert on the French side. So really, really happy about that. And then we closed the season with The Marriage of Figaro. We love sending people off with on
a happy note.
With a happy note. I mean, a lot of Figaro is mischievous, and there's lots of deception and so forth. But this catharsis at the end, and no one dies. So we had that one.
Happy ending.
Exactly. It's kind of funny though that you're doing that, and it starts on the 26th, because that was my day of birth opera at the Metropolitan Opera.
Was that
matinee.
Oh.
So it was.
Is that right?
Yeah, Marriage of Figaro. I think Giorgio Tozzi was in it.
Ah.
Oh God, I can't remember who all was in there.
Wow.
It was, yeah.
Wow.
So it's kind of.
I love it.
I heard that. I found out that was the opera on. I was driving to L.A. for a business trip, and was listening to Metropolitan Opera, and they say matinee on January 23rd, 1960. Oh, I guess I just gave away my age. Oops.
Not that we've been shy about it in the past.
But that was, it was like, oh, this is so cool. And it's cool now that it's right at the end, end of the week of my birthday. So that's cool.
Oh, I love it. And then that's, Marriage of Figaro is another one of these pieces that's tunes like nonstop through the entire piece.
Oh, yeah.
It's a really great singing cast, some faces that are new to our stage, and some familiar as well. But it's the way that you want to do, Figaro, and we really are committed. When we do traditional work, it's not a throwaway for us. When I think it's easy to just say, oh well, people will come because it's Figaro, people become it's for Traviata, but we're always trying to think of how we can get just the most beautiful voices, the most wonderful singing actors onto our stage, and we do have some excellent casts.
Absolutely.
Well, and it goes beyond that, because I think about how last season when you did Barbara of Seville, and it's more than just having a production where you've got the most beautiful singer singing some phenomenal music. I mean, you guys, what I love about Arizona Opera is that even for an older work, you're looking at new ways of presenting it to make it kind of more fun and get the audience more engaged in what is going on. I mean, what was done with last year with Barbara was absolutely genius beyond anything I'd ever seen. In fact, I rate that as probably one of the finest productions I've ever watched.
Yeah, Bartolo was
really
just
appreciate that.
Incredible.
Yeah, Josh Borth did a fantastic job directing that show, and he just found all of the opportunities for humor, and it was really effective. I completely agree with you.
So with having done Barbara last year, Figaro this year, please, tell me, are you going to be doing Ghost of Versailles anytime in the future?
Oh, come on, please. Say yes.
Ghost of Versailles has come up. I'm not going to say that it's on the scheduled at this point, but
it's not even on the short list.
It's never say never. That's the thing I've learned. So
it's such a bizarre.
It is an odd work.
But we have already announced 2019.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about 2019.
Yeah.
There's some interesting stuff
some
here.
Really fascinating things.
So again, we are in our second. We will be in our second season of this new season model and the McDougall Red series.
Oh boy, am I excited!
We'll have, two both incredible and important works. We'll open the season with "Shining Brow" by Darren Hagen, American composer Darren Hagen, with libretto by Paul Muldoon. That piece was originally premiered in Madison in 1993. It tells the story of Frank Lloyd Wright's life, or a specific aspect of his life between 1903 and 1914. So this covers the period of the fire and murders at Taliesin. And what's particularly exciting is that Mr. Hagen has very graciously agreed to create a new version of the opera for Arizona Opera called the Taliesin West version.
Wow!
And so the original opera was put in a larger opera hall type setting. So we needed a version that was going to be appropriate, sort of a custom fit for the Red Series, for the Herberger and the Temple of Music and Art. The right size orchestra and so forth, and constructed in such a way that would make sense for that series. So this will be the world premiere of the Taliesin West version of Shining Brow. Darren Hagen is a Curtis Institute trained composer who's been pretty prolific, but Shining Brow was a piece that really helped to catapult his recognition as an important composer of our time, and we're thrilled to present this work. It's dedicated to Leonard Bernstein, who Mr. Hagen studied with for a period of time.
Cool.
And it should be really, really powerful. We've got an excellent production team. This will be a new physical production as well, and some excellent singers. Including John Moore and Rob McGinnis, who are sharing the role of Frank Lloyd Wright. John is a graduate of the Lindemann Young Artist Program at the Metropolitan Opera.
Oh, cool.
Rob is actually one of our studio artists in the Marion Roos Pullen Arizona Opera Studio next year. Incredibly fine baritone, and we're excited to have him on stage in this role and playing. Frank Lloyd Wright's lover, Mama Cheney, will be Laura Wilde, who is also a graduate of that program, the Marion Roos Pullen Opera Studio, who's been making international waves in her own career. So it should be a terrific production, and really excited to, again, sort of find an opera that's got an aspect that might be intriguing to people in our community that don't typically attend opera, but might be interested in art or architecture and have a curiosity about this very operatic life of Frank Lloyd Wright.
I don't want to assume, but I guess you have reached out to Taliesin West and the Frank Lloyd Wright.
Oh yeah,
Institute.
we're working on community partnerships with the Frank Lloyd Wright Foundation.
Cool.
Lots more to come on that, but. Yes, we're certainly in contact there.
Yeah, cool.
And then that's followed by what has rapidly become, one of the most important new works of our time, Fellow Travelers by
I'm very excited
Gregory
about this
Spears
one.
and Greg Pierce. Yeah, this is such a beautiful piece. It's about. First of all, let me just mention that the piece premiered in 2016 at Cincinnati Opera. We will be using the original Cincinnati Opera production, and has since gone on to the Lyric Opera of Chicago, Minnesota Opera, and others. It's such an incredibly human tale. It's about the Lavender Scare in the 1950s during the time of McCarthy, when homosexuals were being run out of government positions for fear that they were undermining the integrity of democracy and so forth. And it focuses on a relationship between two men, one who is in the State Department and one that works for a senator's office, and you're seeing how they're trying to live their public and private lives in this condition of fear. And it's some of the most just beautiful lyrical writing musically to bring this story to life. One thing that's very special about this piece is that Hawkins Fuller, one of the two men in this relationship, the role was originally created by one of our Marion Roos Pullen studio artists, Joseph Latanzi,
right,
who is coming back
Wonderful.
is coming back for this role.
Fantastic! I didn't even realize that Joseph actually was the one who created the part.
He did. He created the part in Cincinnati in '16. So,
Oh, wow!
yeah, very, very happy to have Joseph back on our stage. Jonas Hacker, who performed it for Chicago, joins Joseph, and the original production from Cincinnati Opera, as I think I mentioned.
Cool.
And then we cut to our main stage series, which is just a great lineup. We're opening with La Boheme.
Oh my
we
gosh.
could do La Boheme every year. I would never get bored.
Yeah, I love Boheme. I have a funny little story. We had gone on a cruise, and there was a guy that was playing guitar on the cruise, and he was Italian, and I just happened, he said, "Do you speak any Italian?" I said, "I only speak very, very little." And he said, "Well, what do you say?" And I said, "Mi chiamano Mimi." And he laughed and laughed.
I love it.
Anyway, so Boheme is it's one of my favorites.
It's Boheme. We really could do it every year. I'd never get bored, but I might get fired. So we're not going to do it every year. But great cast. Ellie Dean and Julie Adams splitting the role of Mimi. Ellie's been making big waves most recently as in the title role of Arabella with the San Francisco Opera. Julie Adams, who is Ariane Soros in Silent Night, returns to our stage. She's a Metropolitan Opera National Council winner and a very, very fine soprano. There are two Mimis. We have a Guatemalan tenor named Mario Chang and Yang Zhao Yu from the Houston Grand Opera program, splitting the role of Rodolfo. Mario won the Operalia, was a 2014 winner of the Operalia competition, Placido Domingo's competition.
Oh, cool.
Juwan Kang and Octavio Moreno are our cellos. Juwan was one of our barbers, one of our Figaros in Barbara Seville last year, so if he looks familiar, that is why. And then Caitlin Johnson and Katie Jordan in our studio programs share the role of Musetta, and they're both going to be exquisite in that role.
Cool.
That's followed in our Marlou Allen and Scott Stallard Modern Masterwork series by the revival of Riders of the Purple Sage. We could not be more excited to bring this opera back.
The excitement that surrounded that production when it premiered was beyond anything I'd ever seen happen with Arizona Opera before. So... there
are so many people. So good.
I was going to say, I was a little surprised to see when I first heard that it was announced it was coming back. I thought, gee, already so soon. But then I thought, no, I mean, wow, this thing just really was like, it was the buzz.
If anyone said that 5 performances of Hamilton was enough, I'd laugh at them. And that's all we've done with Riders. Riders had 5 shows. And there are so many people that have come up to me over the course of the last couple of years to say they didn't see it, they wanted to see it, and it's still really in the ether. And so we don't typically revive pieces this fast, but we just really believe in this opera, and we wanted to give our state another chance to enjoy it.
Right.
It's such a compelling work, and we also wanted to give the opera industry another chance to take a look at it, because we really believe this piece has a place in the modern repertoire, and the more chances we have to perform it, the more people will get to see it and have a chance to think about bringing it outside of the state of Arizona. So that's important to us as well. And then we close the season with Ariadne auf Naxos by Strauss.
One of my favorite operas.
It's a great opera. It's like the most delightful and sublime, musically sublime piece, with the most challenging name to pronounce probably for American audiences. But we're really happy to have the piece. It's been 25 years since Ariadne has been here.
Keith, you have to tell your story.
Yeah, well, we saw it. It wasn't 25. I think it's 20. 22 years.
Maybe 22, yeah, because we were very much together at that time.
Yeah, and it's 23 years. Well, maybe it's 23 years. Anyway, so he bought tickets for my birthday to see Ariadne because it was in January. And I was so sick. We were sitting down on.
Oh no!
This was before the redesign of
A Symphony Hall.
Symphony Hall. So they had these big long rows across the whole thing. We were sitting just about 10 rows back and right towards the center. And I was just sitting there. I had cough drops in my pocket and I had tissues in my pocket. And at one point, I had tissues stuck in both nostrils with my hand over my face because my nose was just dripping. And then it comes to Act 2. The curtain goes up,
Right.
and there's this huge rock.
Uh-huh.
And I said, they're singing and singing and singing, and Ariadne hasn't shown up, and they're singing and singing and singing, and Ariadne hasn't shown up. And then all of a sudden I said, oh my God, if she gets up and she is the rock, I am going to scream.
And guess what happened?
Just about 2 minutes later, Ariadne, this big rock, becomes
Because
Ariadne.
It was the way her gown had been placed before, as she lays down. They placed her gown just right so that you don't think it is her. It looks like
a rock.
It looks like a rock.
So
Very funny.
Yeah.
Very funny.
But I've always liked Ariadne.
Well, I don't doubt that the humor will come across with our production as well. Chuck Hudson, who directed our Don Pasquale, that has been making the rounds nationally, our silent film Pasquale, will be coming back to direct Ariadne. I don't know if you spent any time with Chuck, but he's fantastic. He was a protege of Marcel Marceau, and just has an incredible gift for bringing really any kind of theater to life. But he has a special gift for comedy, so we're happy to have him back.
Oh, that's great.
And I would be remiss not to mention that I'm going to say our own Jennifer Johnson Cano, Metropolitan Opera mezzo-soprano, and coincidentally, pure coincidence, the wife of Christopher Cano, will be performing the role of the composer. So,
far out.
What's that?
I said far out.
Yeah. It's a great cast. Rodel Rosell, who was in our production of Rheingold as Loge last season, will be our dance master, and Scaramuccio. Katrina Galka, who was in our studio program, played the role of Cunegonde and Candide last season, will be coming back as Zerbinetta, sharing that role with Nicole Haslett. And we have two terrific sopranos, Rebecca Nash and Felicia Moore, sharing the role of Ariadne, not to be ignored.
Wow.
So it's just a killer season. We couldn't be more excited. We're on the adventure, and I can't wait to share it with you.
Wow, this is absolutely incredible. Thank you for giving us the recap of the first part of the season and what's coming up in the second, and absolutely the wonderful next season that everybody has to look forward to.
And the thing that I was just thinking about is that every time you've announced a new season, like when this season was announced that we're currently in, this is like the greatest thing I've ever seen happen with Arizona Opera. Now you turn around and give us 2019, I'm like, oh my word, we're only getting bigger and better. Especially better in terms of what is being offered. I mean, this list of productions that we're getting is just fantastic from top to bottom. I could not be more excited.
Fantastic. Well, I'm so glad that you guys are fired up about it. We're just so committed to making this as fun and wonderful and exciting as we possibly can for everyone. We want. I'm one of these people, and you can say that I'm Pollyanna in this way, but I really believe opera can be for everyone, not every
absolutely.
single piece, but I just think there's work there for everyone, and we just want to explore as much as we can what that looks like for Arizona. So
Absolutely.
we're so glad you guys are on the journey with us, and I so appreciate you making time so that we can share all of this exciting news.
Absolutely.
So,
Well,
with that, where can people learn more about Arizona Opera? I mean, social media, anything like that, because we really want people, especially those who are in Arizona, or if you're passing through Arizona at the time there's an opera production going on. Where can people learn more about Arizona Opera and what you guys are doing?
They can come to azopera.org and learn more. And I do actually have one more announcement for your listeners that I can make.
Okay.
We have actually finished planning the opera lineup for the 2020-2021 season. We planned pretty far in advance for our art form because of the complexity of what we do. And I can share with you this morning that that season will be opening with John De Los Santos and Clint Borzoni's opera, The Copper Queen.
Absolutely, yes. Clint and John kind of hinted
Arizona
that there would be
Opera's-
something
Arizona
new
Opera's
coming up with that.
Clint and John were on social media. They were hinting, something
Well,
big?
yeah.
No,
It's just to me,
communicate.
just to
That's
me.
what they communicated to you. Something new to announce, something
Yeah.
exciting. And we kept thinking it's got to be Copper Queen, but that's exciting to know.
That is great.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, we and we'll, especially with bringing back our first world premiere, Riders of the Purple Sage, to be able to announce at the same time that our second world premiere is soon to follow is just another exciting opportunity for us, and we're really proud of all the work that Clint and John have done over the course of these past few years, creating and shaping the Copper Queen, and just very happy that our McDougal Red Series and our entire 2020-21 season will open with that work.
Absolutely.
So, more to come.
Super.
Fantastic.
Well, thank you, Joe, for making time to stop by and speak to us. I really appreciate it.
Likewise. Have a great day, fellas. Always great to talk to you.
Yeah.
Always great to talk to you, too.
Hi, this is Joe Spector from Arizona Opera, and you're listening to the Two Gay Geeks.
That was such a great interview.
It was a lot of fun.
Joe is such a lot of fun. I mean, he really is. He's a young man compared to us.
Yeah.
And
tons of energy.
Tons of energy. And it's great to have somebody younger involved in opera that has that kind of
passion
and his talent for everything. I mean, he's a former singer and a former financial management person, so it's great. So it was a great just check out Arizona Opera. Yeah. And here's a few selected birthdays for January 21st through January 27th, 2018. January 21st, Paul Allen, co-founder of Microsoft. Too bad he passed away just recently. That's too bad. And Benny Hill. And speaking of opera singers, Placido Domingo, birthday on January 21st. And Wolfman Jack.
And the Wolfman.
Yeah. And a Facebook friend of ours, Paul Honsinger. January 22nd, John Hurt.
He's William Hurt's brother.
Yeah.
How
Father, maybe.
How often can we go to that meme?
Yeah. And Guy Fieri. D.W. Griffith, who was the big name in Hollywood. He's literally the one that started Hollywood. And way back in the last century. And also on January 22nd, John Wesley Shipp.
The Flash Senior.
The Flash
Senior. like to call him.
Oh.
Not that Flash.
Not that Flash. And Linda Blair from
The Exorcist.
There you go. Okay.
Okay. I didn't know you wanted a title. It's like, who doesn't know?
Well, there may be somebody. Also on January 22nd, we have Tony Padegimus.
Oh, I'm so glad you had that.
Wow. And Facebook friend, I'm sorry I butchered your name, and Luciana Fallhaber. January 23rd, John Hancock, Richard Dean Anderson, Rutger Hauer, Sonny Chiba, Muzio Clemente, and
Could it be maybe somebody sitting in TG Squared Studios at the moment?
It
And
might
not me?
be. Yeah, it might be. Yes, it's my birthday on January 23rd. January 24th, John Belushi, Neil Diamond, Michio Kaku. And on January 25th, we have Etta James, a wonderful singer, woman of color, just an incredible singer. And Robert Burns, the favorite son of Scotland. There's Robbie Burns Day it's usually around the 25th. Sometimes it's the weekend before or the weekend after. Sometimes they do it on that day. It just depends on your local Scottish community.
Oh, okay.
And also on January 25th, Jeannie Koch.
Wow.
How about that? Craig Stepp?
Wait, those two share a birthday?
Yes, they do.
How is it that the world has not blown up?
I don't have any idea. If they ever met, it would. Also, his Facebook friend Steve K. January 26th, Ellen DeGeneres, Paul Newman, Bob Euchre.
Mr. Baseball.
Just a bit outside. And Gene Siskel. And a friend of ours, Angelo Dell'Aquila. It was Millie's birthday.
That's right.
His wife, her husband. Blah,
Yeah.
I confused myself. January 27th, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, Patton Oswalt, Alan Cumming, Lewis Carroll, Donna Reed, Nick Mason.
Oh, Pink Floyd.
Yeah, James Cromwell, Jerome Kern, and Dee Estelle. Happy birthday, Dee.
Yes.
And happy birthday to everybody in January. And that's it for the birthdays this time.
Hi, this is Holly. You're tuned in to Krypton Radio. It's sci-fi for your Wi-Fi.
Go give a listen to Krypton Radio. You can find them at kryptonradio.com. It's 24-hour music and geek radio station.
Until the sun blows up.
Until the sun blows up.
Then it becomes Kryptonite Radio.
Kryptonite. And now, just a little feedback.
So starting off, there were 3-episode thoughts when we first started watching the DC Universe series Titans. Got a comment from Mark Biaggi after he read my review, and he simply said, "Seems we have similar feelings about the show." You can read it yourself, because all these links will be in our show notes for this episode, and you can find that on tggeeks.com. And then there was Jeannie's Christmas Classics. She reviewed The Nightmare Before Christmas and got a comment from Sharon Skinner. She says, "Great take on this awesome holiday film."
Well, the interesting thing is that her version that she purchased, because her daughter took their
That's
version,
right.
she ordered, because it was cheaper, the sing-along version.
Oh, yeah. That's true. Yeah, it's very amusing.
Yeah.
And then got a comment from Corey Nelson. She left a comment about my review for the book Starship Mine, a sci-fi tale of alien abduction and diversity. And Corey writes, "A TG Geek gifted me this book, which my husband thought this was a good initial read. He liked it and is looking forward to rating it on Goodreads like a solid Goodreads citizen."
Yay!
Yay. And then we had a review for Frosty the Snowman, the Rankin Bass production from Tommy Cannon. I had left a comment on Facebook saying how much I loved it. Not just the review, but the fact that Tommy Cannon wrote this review, and Tommy Cannon came back with "Thank you." And a friend of his, John Jarmarket, simply left a smiley face. So thank you, John. And again, all of these articles will be in the show notes for this episode at tggeeks.com.
Yeah. And you can leave a comment on our Facebook page or our TG Geeks website, tggeeks.com. You can also leave us a voicemail comment, and we'll play that on air at 469-TG-GEEKS, 469-844-3357. And as we always say, please play nice.
Yeah, baby. They're like two gay geeks. They're together, you know. They're two gay guys and they're geeks. Is that okay?
I'm going to stop it there because we are running out of time and we have things to talk about. Just interesting little announcement right at the very end of Joe's opera about Copper Queen. So check it out.
Very happy
that's
about
going to be a really great thing. And hopefully we're going to have
John De Los Santos and Clint
Clint Borzoni on the show soon.
I'm Daniel Radcliffe, and I believe that reaching out for help is the bravest thing a person can do. If you are struggling and need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386. It's free and confidential, and trained counsellors are there to listen 24/7 without judgment. To learn more about the Trevor Project's life-saving work for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or questioning young people, go to thetrevorproject.org.
And there's also a trans lifeline that is solely dedicated to trans issues. If you're struggling, check out the hotline, 877-565-8860, and in Canada, 877-330-6366, or translifeline.org. We don't have any weekly review because who knows what we're going to publish. We haven't gotten that far yet.
There will be a number of things coming out this week.
There will be something every single day for the last week, but we're recording this early, so can't have that now. Check out our restaurant reviews. It's a new category, relatively new. And as always, we are huge supporters of independent creators, whether it's filmmakers, comic book artists, writers. Please buy their stuff and have cash for them. Please consider supporting independent creators.
Special shout out to the Arkle Times Post-Dispatch News, which republishes our content on a regular basis. It is put up by the Human Arkle on Twitter. And that's Brian Weber. You can find him on Twitter by searching @Arkle, A-R-K-L-E. And speaking of him, Brian, he has a shameless cash grab on YouTube. You can find it by going to youtube.com/user/Arkle Studios, all one word. And a special shout out to the Facebook group, The Gay Geek, for allowing us to post not just our episodes, but any relevant content there as well. Their URL is facebook.com/group/The Gay Geek. And as always, special thanks to their moderator, Jeremiah Reeves, for allowing us to post all of our content there.
Thank you, Jeremiah. And lastly, we are on Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, and Anchor, as well as the places that you find other fine podcasts. Check us out on Krypton Radio, 3 a.m., 3 p.m. Pacific Time on Tuesdays, and listen to their other content. Check us out on iTunes, and don't forget to rate us and review us on iTunes, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Up next week, I believe we are going to have an interview with Mr. Katie Edwards, the author of The Last Son, and he's talking to us about The Hanged Man.
His next book.
Yay! Check it out. And that should do it for this episode of TG Geeks Webcast. Be sure to check out the article for this webcast episode. We're going to have several links on the page. And remember, you can comment on our Facebook page or our website, tggeeks.com. Leave us a voicemail at 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. From TG Squared Studios, I'm Keith Lane. Thanks for listening. Please be kind to yourself and those around you. Peace.
Cheers.